Welcome to Elastic Rural in Gävleborg and the season opening with the duo show with Dick Hedlund and Ferdinand Evaldsson. I invited both of you because I thought it would be a good idea to try and get deeper into the understanding of your practices by having to negotiate how you experience and hang the works, which we've done the last 2.5 days. And for me at least, it's been a way to also pick apart or dissect your practices and way of constructing your images, but also how you have to negotiate and relate to the space, but also to someone else's practice. So, and I think especially it's been quite successful to be able to show some works from 2019 until some which were finished only a few days ago, and that's quite nice to not always think about that everything has to be new, because when you have when you have a dialogue with previous works, you can of course see the progress and a development in a practice. So so then I would ask you, Dick, what your understanding or feeling of that, of having to negotiate with Ferdinand in a way, with your works and his.
Well, on the whole, it's been a really positive experience, of course, and we didn't really know each other that well before. I mean, I've known of you and your works, but having spent this time together and like having to be in this dialogue is really it's been helpful to, well, first of all, just to get to know you and your works, but also to see how this becomes kind of an intimate relationship over the last few days, and it's become obvious that it's much harder to install a duo rather than a group exhibition, whereas you have to take more responsibility and be more more honest about your approach and intention.
Yeah, in a larger group show, that you can hide amongst the trees in a way, but here you have to directly relate to Ferdinand.
Yeah, it has to be a frank, honest conversation.
Yeah. So and your experience, Ferdinand, of having, for instance, some of Dick's works hanging maybe too close to comfort, in, like as you said at one point, that normally I want quite a lot of space around my bigger pieces, but here we've been really pushing maybe the boundaries for where your and his works kind of integrity in a way, I think in a positive way. But what's your feeling?
I think it has a lot to do with like the actual space, because the space is so special and has like its own history, and it's not like the common gallery space that you would expect to show in, and I think that can like makes the conversation easier in a way. It helps the dialogue to move forward, because like when you have a space which has like very clear spaces which you're not very used to like dealing with, then you get like perhaps a different set of ideas than you would normally have, and I think that helps. At least for me, it's helpful for me to see my own work in another way and to feel comfortable with having them like very close to Dick's works in some instances, and like having them perhaps like put in a corner, because that corner is in itself quite interesting, and it can like heightens and accentuates the work in a way that I'm not sure would have happened in another setting. So I think it's also nice to be able to have your works placed close to each other, because as Dick said, this I suppose when you're doing a group show, you don't talk so much about like what's your practice and what's my practice. It's more about like perhaps placing your stuff, and in this case you have to engage in a conversation, and when that conversation is engaged, then it's so much easier to be comfortable with placing your works in certain places next to each other.
And I mean, both of you as well did studio visits with each other before before coming here. So you had you already started in a way that understanding by going to each other's studios, which you hadn't done before. And I think that was your own initiative, which was good for me, because that meant that you already had a basic understanding in a way.
Yeah.
So,
I think it was in this case it was rather important. We took it upon ourselves to engage as much as we could, and was possible. We both worked quite intensely up until like leaving for Gävleborg. But what I hadn't really regarded was actually like we knew of this space, and you've shown us both video and still photos from last year's exhibition, but I think this space has also kind of become this, like in this dialogue or has like you have to very much regard it as an own voice too, very much more so than a regular white cube.
I mean,
it really creates this like dissonance, which I think is kind of healthy also, like in having this exhibition.
Because I mean, it's always of course the exhibition space is an agency or an agent in an exhibition, but here, as you say, with the history and the way it looks, it adds to it. It's more active maybe, and then also with that we have. Facing us when we sit here now, we have a lot of sun and daylight coming in, and an outside that's also active, and you Dick also have one workplace placed outside. So in a way you put a tempo or a kind of mood already in the viewer before you come in, and also the at least my own experience from being here a lot, of course, is that the trip coming here from, even if you come from Gävle, which is quite close, or if you come from Stockholm, which is about 2 hours, that becomes part of your mindset when you arrive in a way. So and then also then with the space that. Now it's quite even light, but like yesterday we had a lot of sunshine coming in, and then both of your works really changed with that, of course, and that's I think that's both helpful and it's also quite honest, because in a way the white cube is it's a lie in a way, because it never ever looks like that. I mean it's a very clean environment for different reasons, of course. But it's So
it's a very specific room. Like you don't live in the white cube.
No, it's quite. Okay, thank you both, and welcome to the show, which opens today, the 19th of June, and runs every Saturday and Sunday until the 1st of August.